I'm Nora Duncan, State Director for AARP Connecticut. Welcome to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP CT, a biweekly interview series on the issues important to people 50 plus in Connecticut and their families. Today we are introducing Natalie Shurtleff. She is the brand new Associate State Director of Advocacy and Outreach for AARP Connecticut. Natalie will be handling a lot of our caregiving, healthcare, livable communities, and more in our portfolio, both for advocacy and for outreach. She will be getting to know our amazing AARP volunteers and partners over the coming months, but today we want to introduce her to you. So welcome, Natalie, to AARP Connecticut. We're psyched to have you on board.
Hi, excited to be here.
Great. I'm going to run through some questions just so we can get to know you. And, no pressure, first impressions and all. So why don't we start with what you were doing before you came to AARP Connecticut?
Yeah, so for the past 12 years or so, I've been at the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, or ACS CAN. I was a senior grassroots manager there, doing advocacy work, passing legislation to end cancer as we know it for everyone. So a lot of healthcare work and working with volunteers, a lot of overlap with what I'll be doing here.
And I think you also covered some other states besides Connecticut, right?
Yep. Yeah. So most recently, I was covering Connecticut and Rhode Island. And before that, I was covering Connecticut and Vermont. So quite a bit of the Northeast.
Yeah, Rhode Island seems more convenient. But
Yeah.
so why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the legislation you've worked on in the past and maybe what you're most proud of?
Yeah. So I know something that you all at AARP have been working on this year was the paid sick days law and strengthening that. And I had actually worked on the original paid sick days law back in 2011 when that first passed, working to make sure that people are able to take some time off of work when they're sick. And so that I was, Connecticut was the first state to pass that back then. And so that was really, really exciting. More recently, I've been working on biomarker testing legislation in Connecticut. So that's working to make sure that cancer patients and other patients have access to the right testing for their particular cancer and making sure that that's covered by an insurance. So we passed it in Rhode Island a couple years ago. We were one of the first states to pass it. And then this year we passed it in Connecticut.
Of course, I'm on mute while I'm talking. You'd think all these years, but sometimes when I'm in the office doing this, the doorbell rings and it's super loud. And so I keep myself on mute and then I start talking. It's no good. So anyway, yeah. So we watched that legislation also just because it was really exciting. Didn't work on it, but congrats on getting that passed in both states. So and our viewers know that we work a lot with volunteers, and we've got a huge group in advocacy that our friends at the state capitol are seeing, our army of red shirts, but we also have volunteers who do work throughout the community. So tell us about working with volunteers in your previous role and what you like the most about working with volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, I think volunteers bring such power to an organization like AARP. Being able to advocate and share their experiences with legislators and in the community is really, really powerful. And I love just working with volunteers and helping kind of help them realize their power. I worked on legislation a few years ago with a volunteer, Melissa. She came to me with this idea, something she wanted to work on. She had personally been impacted by it. And she had absolutely no legislative experience whatsoever. She didn't know how the process worked. She didn't know anything. And I was able to, walk her through it all and help her learn how to testify at a hearing and how to meet with lawmakers and how to build relationships and all of that, and ultimately get the legislation passed. And she was just, so blown away by the experience of I passed a law and felt so empowered by it. And I think that feeling what volunteers have when they realize, wow, I helped get this law passed, is just incredibly rewarding to me to be able to help them realize that power.
I think those of us who have been doing it for a long time forget that, it really is a big deal to take something from inception to the finish line. And sometimes it's better to not know the whole process because there's a lot of sausage making that goes on. And sometimes you don't need to know that. All right. So what are you excited about in your new role with AARP Connecticut?
So one of the things I'm just most excited about is to be with, an incredible organization like AARP. You talked about that army of red shirts, and I've seen them in the legislative office building and the state capitol over the last several years when I'm there, and I know that they have such power, and so to be part of that organization is really exciting to me. I know how impactful you all are, and I'm excited to be part of that.
And they're excited to get to know you. And we're excited to have you use your experience to, nurture and grow our volunteer corps and bring on new people. Okay, so for what we have not covered, which is lots of stuff, what do you want people to know about you and you in this role?
Yeah, I guess maybe just a little bit about me personally. I grew up in California. I'm a California girl, and I came to Connecticut to go to UConn, so go Huskies. Yeah, I live in East Haddam, and I've lived in Connecticut now for more than half my life since I, came here for college. And I'm just feel like even though I'm not a native Connecticut person, Connecticut? I don't know.
That always sounds like we're going to invade Rhode Island, so we can just go with Nutmegger.
Yeah, Nutmegger. I've been here a while, worked a lot across the street from our office, at the legislative office building, and have some great relationships, and I'm looking forward to utilizing that here.
And that makes pretty much our entire advocacy team, you, John Erlinghauser, and myself, all team Huskies. We all went to undergrad at the University of Connecticut, so go Huskies. We've got some swag all over this office that you can't see right now. All right, so Natalie, great to hear from you. Look forward to working with you. And to our viewers, thanks to all of you for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Tea with AARP-CT. Join us again in 2 weeks for another episode, and catch back episodes on demand on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. Go ahead and scan the QR code to become an e-advocate and to help us advance policies in Connecticut and nationwide that are important to people 50 plus. And everybody have a great summer.